Tuperas y Tuperas. Today on DOOP by the River, we're talking extensions. We're talking loans. We're going to talk about that. What happened in North Jersey? I mean, it was a nice little surprise, but we're going to talk about that Pink Cow review. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to DOOP by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union, brought to you by Philly Sports Network. That's how you start a show there.
I was so confused. Let's be honest.
So, hey, listen, it's not how you started, it's how you finish it here. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I go by the name of El Parcero Philly, the United of all things sports and culture. And, of course, I am joined by my co-host today, Mr. Justin, Philly's second most famous bald Freiberg. Justin, first off, welcome back. My man Justin was over in West Virginia. He was having himself a little blast over there up in West Virginia country. How you been, man? How was West Virginia?
It was fun. I will say it. It is very beautiful country down there. I had a blast. The place we were staying at was phenomenal. It was with some of my closest friends. We were celebrating. We're celebrating our buddies getting married in a month. We're all on the wedding, so we were like, let's have a little fun down there. But of course, I watched my Union. Like bunch of us are soccer fans, and I was like,
hey.
I got Hulu TV. Pull it up down here. Let's watch some soccer. You know, I mean, come on, I'm watching soccer no matter where I am.
Same, man, same. Yeah, I'm sure Paul, our good friend of the podcast, Paul Katrina's got some weird stories about me and soccer. So I 110% understand you. But speaking of which, Justin, you know very well I'm always dabbled into the sports culture here in Philadelphia and soccer for once. And I don't know how long our sport is actually being talked on in sports talk radio. And I just wanted to touch upon this real quick. Of course, everyone is talking about Tyrone Johnson lashing out on us Union fans this past week. Look, all I want to say is for once, both 97.5 and 94.1 WIP, all we're saying here in Unionville is you can change up these darn polls. If you want to fit your narrative that this is a 4-for-4 town, that's you. Obviously, that's 100% you. But you can always change up polls, and that's all we're saying. But Tyrone went on that little bit of a tangent he went on, and all I want to say is, guys, you know what? It was annoying, but Union Talk was on the radio this week. Okay, on 97.5 at least, they were on the radio. Shouts out! I really want to give a shout out to Connor Thomas, who works at 97.5 as well, putting out that article as well. Yes, it is a dark time right now in Philly sports. The Sixers just gave us an absolute pitiful end to that season. The Flyers were an absolute flop. You can believe the Phillies if you want to. I still have skepticisms. And of course, the Eagles are the biggest question mark of them all. But over here in Chester, you have a team that is secure, won a trophy. You got a MLS Coach of the Year, MLS Goalkeeper of the Year. You have an actual good team. You got kids that are playing in your own backyard. Justin, what a week, man.
I'm not going to be as nice with this sugarcoating. We talked about this. You know what?
Get him, Justin.
Fuck this self-serving, bullshit narrative. All right. Listen, I know Tyrone's been a long-time fan of the team. That's why I love you, Dan. Listen, Ty's been a supporter of the team for years, and I'm not doubting that.
Right.
But to say that, a few maybe hours of coverage stands for 10 years of not saying anything for basic, listen, with these polls, okay, yeah, you only have 4 options. But are you telling me the Flyers win anytime soon? I'm a Flyers fan. Hell no.
Same.
The Phillies, forget about it. The Sixers choked their chance away. And the Eagles, I mean, shit, we sold our soul for that Super Bowl, let's be honest.
Yeah, man.
But the Union are the best team in Philadelphia. You like for all the soccer's not a real. I'm sorry. What other team has won a trophy in the last couple of years? Has players playing in better leagues? Because I listen. I love the MLS, but there are better
No,
leagues
yeah.
around the world, and
Being-
who players playing for this national team. I'm sorry. Are NFL players playing in the Olympics or in a tournament? No, but yet we have Brendan Aronson and Mark McKenzie.
Justin, you know what the best part is when they win the Super Bowl, they're like world champions,
Like
New England Patriots,
you're the
world
only
champions.
country you're the only country that plays the sport. And like it's this self-serving, radio narrative BS, which is why listen, I did sports radio in college, and don't get me wrong, it was fun. I had a blast, but it just I understood how toxic it can be, and it was like once I got out of college, it was like, you know what, I had my fun, I did it, but you know what, no, I'm good. I'm good. I stay out of it. Like,
Right.
at least with with us doing this podcast, like I can still obviously express my opinions, and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to troll everybody and trying to start like a narrative. Like, I'm saying my honest opinions here, and I don't claim to be anything else that I'm not. Like, I'm not putting on airs here. What you see here is what you get, and say shouts to Heather there.
Yeah.
Noticing my jersey. That's right. That's
Really
the
fresh.
Really fresh
Yes.
Black Lives Matter jersey.
Yes.
This shit is fresh thanks to Icarus, and it
Always.
supported it supported the Kensington Soccer Club. Straight up, this jersey is fresh. I'm not gonna lie, I love it. And
That's pretty
Icarus,
fresh, bro.
I mean, Robbie just hits it without fail. Hits it out of the park every time.
Justin's Philly as they come. He's wearing the Philly Fresh, a Philly company in Icarus, of course. But to your point, I think what frustrates the most for me, Justin, is when you go outside this country, soccer is literally everything in majority of these countries outside of the United States. And then when you come here, like, it's people actually put it down, which makes no sense to me. But another thing too, Justin, we go outside markets in the United States. There are markets in the United States that are actually supporting their MLS clubs. I mean, look what's going on in Atlanta. Nashville's stepping it up big time over this past year, I would say.
Well, Atlanta's burning down right now.
Yeah.
With all this Heinze. Let me tell you, with all this Heinze freezing out, what is it with coaches freezing out strikers? Like, listen, if Atlanta doesn't want him, I'll trade him away.
They're revolting, bro. They're revolting.
Is Andrew Wooten still in the books? We'll trade.
Oh, dude.
We'll trade him. Oh, wait. Will they take Joe Bendick? I'll trade Joe Bendick. They could use another average goalie.
Pretty much. But yes, soccer is a thing very much so here in Philadelphia. So let's talk about this team that we have here in Philadelphia, right? So we had some news. We had actually a lot of news going on. It's been a while since we've seen this team. Obviously, last Thursday is the last time. A week ago to today was the last time we saw the Philadelphia Union. We'll get to who they're going to play this upcoming weekend. But we had some big news this past week. So we'll go in chronological order here. So first off, the Union gave extensions. So they gave one of two extensions. First off was Ernst Tanner, our sporting director, GM, whatever you want to call him in that capacity. He's in charge of building this roster, the squad up for Jim Curtin and the Philadelphia Union. Well, he was extended through 2024. And Justin, honestly, before we start off, I can't think of anyone who's more deserving of an extension like this. What he has done in Philadelphia, he literally took the foundation that Ernie started here back when Ernie was here. He took it and he took it to the next level. He took it where we wanted Ernie to take it. We constantly on this podcast talk about all the great signings that Ernst Tanner has had in his tenure here in Philadelphia. And really it's just a commitment to him. He wants a cup here. He wants a cup. And there was European interest from my understanding. There was some
you forget that he comes from the Salzburg tree. He knows his roots there. He knows but he committed to coming here, and Mr. Uncut Gems, Ernst Tanner here, my man is finding diamonds in the rough. Like Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, he knows a good diamond when he sees it. And It's unreal how much talent he finds. I mean, what other than Wooten or Vets is kind of been was like you have a guy who consistently finds great talent, and oh, by the way, he helps with Jim, helps pull up talent from the academy.
Mhm.
I would like to say that, I mean, without Ernst, I don't think the Union even sniff a supporter shield, and obviously Jim has a big part to do with that, and that's why he won Coach of the Year.
Sir.
But if you don't have a sporting director like Ernst backing you up, giving you the support, giving you players that you desperately want, and helping you cultivate academy players, I don't think the Union are in this position at all.
Yes, sir. And for those 4for4 Philly sports fans, yes, Ernst Tanner is the best GM/sporting director in Philadelphia. I know what Daryl Morey did, but he hasn't been here long enough. Okay, so let's move on to our next bit of news. You mentioned him, Matiš Orvik. Sexy season. Remember that, Justin? We were all sexy seasoned up, dude.
I wish I had. Not that I had high expectations, but man, that would have been nice for something really to happen.
He created some serious hype for himself though with that motto, man.
all out of mistranslation.
That was absolutely great. Well, unfortunately, it was a sexy season for us if you look at it, but it was not a sexy season for him. It was weird when he came in. Obviously they signed El Brujo Martinez as well, but he couldn't even keep up. And also he was doing this. He was doing Slovakian time as well with the national. I think he was like part of the U23s or whatever team he was part of. But he couldn't outbeat Warren Craval, and then he couldn't outbeat Jose Brujo Martinez. And then remember, Jim had Orovich in the 18 or in Chester, and he decided to go with Jack Elliott as a 6 at times last season as well. He just could not make it into the 18, make it into the 11. And Jim alluded to, man, he worked his butt off, but he just didn't fit here. And it sucks. Sometimes you work your butt off, but it just doesn't pan out. And for him, he's going back home. He's got loaned off to I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, but FK Zelezarne Podbrezova. So hopefully my Slovakians prove my pronunciation. But oh man.
We were talking about this before the episode, and I think we both said, are we either of us going to be able to say this well? And I'll give it a shot. Yeah, all right. FK Zelzearn Probezova. I mean, that seems about as accurate. If we have any Slovakian fans, please correct us.
That'd be nice.
Literally correct us. I mean, just because I'm mostly Eastern European doesn't pretend to know how to say. I had to say any kind of Eastern European language.
But it's tough, Justin, because we really didn't even get to see him play. So it's tough to actually analyze his time here in Philadelphia when we don't even know what he would have even looked like. But it is telling that Jim had what he said in the presser.
I mean, I think it's one of those things that, bringing in players last year, you think about everything that happened in the last few years. 2019 was one of those years. I was like, yeah, he was supposed to be that player. Who knows what happens? And then 2020 happens, and I mean, listen, that was crazy for everybody. I just think it was one of those circumstances that I'm not doubting he's a good player. I just think, look at the talent we had, even at the position.
But he couldn't beat out Elliott though.
But you forget that Jack Elliott is a natural CDM. Just because he's playing center back,
I think he's a little too slow to play CDM.
But you don't have to be quick to be a CDM. You just have to be in the right position, and that's what Jack Elliott was. And listen, like I said, I hope maybe after a year he comes back, and maybe he comes back. Maybe he comes back and fights for that spot. Maybe not. It's a shame, but you know what? It happens. You can't hit on every player, and he was a young player, so it's not like he cost a ton of money. it was a low risk, it was a very low risk, high reward situation, and the reward didn't pan out, so you didn't risk a lot.
Believe was it 800,000 or something like that? We ponied up 880,000.
Was it that high? I don't know.
Undisclosed string. It says Slovakian International was acquired in 2020 from Slovakian side. I'm not going to pronounce it. Undisclosed transfer fee that was reportedly 880,000. Yes. But yeah, I mean, listen, you hit it on the nail. Ernst has done a fantastic job. Bringing in Jamiro, bringing in Sergio, El Brujo, Kai Wagner, Jakub Glesnes. We'll see what Gazdak has here as well. Leon Flack. I mean, dude,
I'm team MVP. Honestly, I know it's about goal.
Dude, I think he is becoming the best signing in the MLS offseason overall.
Heck, I might get a Leon. I might get a Leon jersey.
I think you should.
I mean, listen. As I say, if you know what, if I'm gonna put out a challenge to our listeners here. If we can get Johnny, what's an average viewership on an episode on your YouTube channel?
On the YouTube channel, I think average we could do like 20 is the average on the YouTube channel.
Because I want to make it where it's attainable, but it's not. If we can get,
I think 50 is attainable.
I'm going to push it even farther. If we can get 75.
Okay, you heard that here, guys.
75 views on this episode. Once this episode ends, you get 75 views on here. I will put the receipts. I will buy a Leon Flock jersey.
Okay, here. This is what I will do. I like where your head is at. I'll do one better. If we get that, you buy yours, I'll buy one, and I will actually give this one away to a lucky listener. So I'm gonna actually
snap. You hear that, people?
I'm gonna actually put that in here.
We are putting our money where our mouth is.
Absolutely, man.
We listen. We know y'all can do it. So hey, you know me. I ain't afraid of buying another soccer jersey.
I know we know this. We know this man needs a whole other apartment for his soccer.
Hey, listen, that's the nice thing about having a decent sized closet in this apartment here. Plenty of room for jerseys.
I like that. Well, hey, but to the Orvich point, last point here. You know what? If he comes back, I'm sure Cincinnati is willing to buy him from us. So there's always that option.
We'll sell him to Cincinnati for $20 million. So they'll cough it up.
Yeah, they'll overpay for a guy like Matisz Orvik. I could totally see that happening. But the last bit of Union news that we got, of course, has to do with one of our players. Good news. The Jamaican Wall, the one third part of the Union Reggae Boys, the part-time captain, I guess we could say, Andre Blake. He got
the Jamaican Dream Machine.
Yes, I like that. He got rewarded. He got a contract extension with Philadelphia Union that is going to go through 2024. There will be an option for 2025 going forward. Justin, I can't think of anyone who deserves this more than Andre Blake. Now, there's been a lot of talk with Union fans, and even for myself on TikTok when I put this news out there, a lot of people are like, well, he needs to go to Europe now because he's getting older. And I'm at the point now, like, do I need to see Andre Blake in Europe? Like, I have no problems with seeing Andre Blake being a Union lifer. Like, that would be absolutely sick to see. And absolutely, because I do believe, Justin, that we'll get to a point where these MLS players will be making more money, and those lifers, you might not see those coming every so often. But what I want from you. Because I mean, what else can we say about Andre Blake, man? That the dude is absolutely fantastic, and of course, I went away from where I wanted to show you here.
He's green. He's a raging sex machine. Andre Blake.
We got to get Adam Booth just to sing that. All right, so
no, Adam has I don't know. It might still fly on on our air, but Adam and I've had sung with Adam a maybe an R-rated version of that song.
Absolutely. So this tweet was brought up today, and I wanted to talk about it here today because I really think it was an interesting conversation, because I think we all know how good Andre Blake is in the eyes of Union fans. But shouts to Evan _ Zolo.
In Discord, he's a great dude.
Yes, great dude. This is a great take here as well, which I wanted to discuss with you, Justin. He said Andre Blake surpassed Seba as the face of the club now, and he has also mentioned is right in the discussion, not about who's better, but who's most iconic, which is very true. That last part is very true. When you're thinking about who is the face of the Union all time, it's not really about stats and whatnot, but it is about how iconic they are. Because Seba, yeah, I mean, he's got the stats, but we're also talking about a different MLS, a different Union team. I mean, we know how bad the Union were in the beginning of time, but for you, has Blake become that guy as the top face in Union history?
That's a really good question. And it's tough for me, having been a fan since day one, having been there at the first game, with Seba scoring the first ever Union hat trick, beating BC. It means so much. I mean, what this team has been through, it meant a lot. I think the answer probably depends on how more recent of a Union fan you are. If you were a Union fan prior to 2016, I'm going to say, I think your answer is probably Seba. If you're a Union fan after that, I feel like you lean more towards Andre. I know it's not really much of an answer, but I feel like both. And I think for varying reasons. I think the reason why both are iconic is because Seba was there in the early days. Listen, we had him on. We've all heard. He told us the stories. He's told us. Listen, getting kicked out
Chester
of a park
High School or whatever
Chester for a summer camp, like not having great for training. Like, listen, he's told us those stories. It's great. It happens. Like but he meant a lot. He's right now the only person in the Ring of Honor. Obviously, he's an iconic figure. Right. And what he did, everyone, who is a Union fan will obviously never forget and always appreciates. But I think Andre is, ushers in that era of that's when Jim took over. That's when Ernie came in. That's when Ernst came in. I think Andre is one of the faces of what changed for this team. Right. When this team really became what it is now. And I think both can be iconic. I don't think one is more iconic than the other. Obviously, Seba is the all-time leading goal scorer, and by the time Andre's done, he's going to be number one in all the goalkeeping stats. In fact, I think he's basically almost at that point now.
Yeah, man.
And listen, both are highly regarded in their own rights, and I think both are going to be. I think Andre's going to be in the Wall of Fame when his career's up.
A lot of names after this era.
I firmly believe that. I mean, you talk about Ray, maybe talk about Ali. Like, there's a lot of names that could be put on the wall. But I think Andre is one of the easiest first names that comes up because, listen, 2-time goalie of the year, Supporter Shield winning, goalie. Like, when you think of iconic goalies, people say, "Oh, he's in MLS. He's not good." There are a lot of goalies that have spent a good career, like in MLS, and some of the most iconic ones, are some of the best in this league. And you know what? Like, I don't think he has to prove himself. He's already proved himself, and he's been great on the international stage. So, Jamaica's been getting better and better. And I think Andre's been one of the leading faces.
They're in the top 50 now.
Exactly. Like, I think, having a solid goalie can help. And I think, what? Yeah, we said for years we relied on Andre Blake way more often than we should have.
Right.
But you know what? Part. I think it made me appreciate him that much more. And Andre Blake is always going to be the top goalie. For me in Union history, just like Seba is going to be the top goal scorer.
Yeah, man.
In Union history, like, I think both can be the same, and I think both are iconic, obviously for their varying reasons.
Right. I'll make this point quick because we still got to talk about Red Bull. I will say that for me, Andre, spectacular. But when I think about faces of a club, I don't usually think about a goalkeeper. Like I was even thinking about, so to me, like when I think about legendary goalkeepers, I think of Gigi Buffon, right? But when I think of Juventus, I don't think of Gigi Buffon first. I think of guys like Del Piero or even Pirlo before I think of Gigi Buffon. So I think it's just tough for a goalkeeper to be the face of a team. Honestly, when I think it's all said and done, I think Ali is going to be a bigger face than Seba or Andre Blake, especially if we win an MLS Cup. Ali's the captain. We already know what Ali's done for this club as well. I think he's going to be a bigger face to this team. But like Justin said, nothing takes away what Andre Blake has done. There will never ever be a better goalkeeper. I don't care what happens in the future. There will not be a better goalkeeper than Andre Blake did. He's laid the foundation truly for this team. But Justin, let's get to it, man, because North Jersey, man, ugly, disgusting night. Raining. It was drizzling a little bit. It was a sloppy. It was Red Bull and it was Union. You got everything you bargained for. It finished in a 1-1 draw. It was absolutely wild. Now I
was right. I
didn't think we were gonna win.
Matt literally texted me after the game and goes, "Wow, you were right." And I go, I mean, it's a Union Red Bull. I could have said the same thing about Union DC.
Yeah, pretty much. And the first half, I will say, I did not feel confident. Last night's and shouts to the RFK Refuge. We were talking to those guys last night on their podcast. And Zach brought up a really great point, and I kind of forgot after the live stream. We were not crisp on passing the ball, moving the ball up and down the pitch. We were not crisp. Between Jamiro and Brujo, they had so many turnovers just by not handling the ball, not being able to handle a pass. Second half, of course, the game kind of turned over when Jakob Glesnes with a bad pass back to Matt Freeze and Freezy, which we talked about before, going through a hell of a week essentially. He was forced to foul Carmona, and he got the red card. Union go down 10 men, and then Red Bull get the PK, and I'm blanking on his name, the Polish guy. Is it Kilana? Or
something like that,
yeah. The Polish guy, the Red Bull and the Polish guy. I'm blanking on his name.
We'll do with the blonde hair.
Yes, he hits the PK, and then at that point, I'm like, we're down 10 men. There's no way we're winning. It's still like a drizzly night. There's no way we're winning. But then Sergio Santos Gomes comes in the game, and the game completely changes. And of course, in Mbaizo with John Tolkien out in the game, which Tolkien really had a great match, I will say. I thought he was, if he didn't get hurt and didn't have the strong second half like he did in the first, I really felt like he would have been the man of the match. But Mbaizo took advantage of it. Beautiful cross, perfect cross. And I don't know what the term is in soccer, but Sergio mossed John Edwards, and he hit the ball perfectly.
Oh no, that works. I think that works.
Right? He essentially mossed them. And the Union were able to walk away with a point. And Justin, we also got another great Jim Curtin celebration. It was absolutely spectacular. But man, what do you take away from this match, dude?
One, that it was sloppy. I don't take away a lot because it was raining. It was ugly. Those kind of, like, I saw the same thing at Chicago. It was soggy. It was wet. It was ugly. That's what happens. What I did see in the first half, because the second half I was kind of in and out. What I saw in the first half was, man, once Gazdag, Jamiro, and Casper get on the same page, watch out, because they are so close. I saw Gazdag and Casper do some beautiful plays together, and Jamiro was just off on passing, or the cross would come in and just miss Gazdag. Like, they're there. They are close. I can feel it. It is just going to take a little more time, but I think there's no reason why this team can't really gel together. And I think once everyone's back, I think Gazdag will be a key contributor down the stretch. And I think when you have a fully fit team, watch out. Like, I think this team could be dangerous. And it's just like, listen, you forget he's been here. He was here for one game, left for basically a few weeks, and got a slight injury, nothing serious. Came back, played, sat a few games and played. And like it's been a kind of a stop start for him, but nothing that I've heard from Jim indicates that he isn't working his ass off, and it seems like he's getting along with everything pretty well. It seems like he's starting to play pretty well. It's eventually going to come. Like I have that feeling more than I had with Wooten, because Wooten obviously never really got off the ground at all, and it was just ugly, and it's a whole thing. But with Gazdag, it feels like he's there. It's just meshing with his teammates more, and that takes time. It's not an instantaneous thing.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think that this attack is just lacking that chemistry right now, and it's kind of affecting everything else. Man, this compact midfield was the talk of the Union over the past year and a half. It's been a dominating piece for this Union attack. So once guys that gets acclimated, gets that chemistry, understanding everyone. Like I think like the first goal opportunity was like the perfect example, like what's kind of going on with this attack right now. Gazdak, it was a nice pass from, I believe it was Leon Flock. Gazdak gets wide open, but it was a tough shot. But he had Jamiro lurking wide open. If you would have just chipped that over to Jamiro would have just buried that bad boy. But that's my point. Once these guys, once Gazdak understands Jamiro and understands like how he likes to move into those spaces, man, it's going to be clutch. I do believe Gazdak is going to be as advertised. But man, listen, the Union need to get out of this slump a little bit. I understand that. I'm not worried because we are still not that far into this season, right? So this 3-game winless streak, it's going to be okay. I do want to see the Union try to figure out how to kind of, neutralize these teams who are doing these 3 and 5 back sets to try to, throw off this compact midfield. But I think we will be okay, and a lot of lessons learned against the Red Bull. But anytime you can go up into North Jersey, a rivalry type of setting, ugly night, down a man, and to what Craze reset up here. Craze, as we spoke last week, Matt Freeze, who got the red card, he had his father pass away 2 days prior. So right off the bat, there was a lot on this guy's head. And, that was a tough spot to put anyone in, let alone Matt Freeze. And Matt, just made a mistake. It was a mistake, and luckily it wasn't too costly. And I'm excited to see Matt Freeze get back out there. And we'll see. It'll be a minute before we see him out there, but I'm sure he'll be okay for sure. But Justin, we're done with Red Bull, and now we move to I-95 South. No pun to J. Cole, but we're moving to I-95 South. The DC is coming up here to face off against us. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, to preview this DC United match, we get you only the best guests here on DOOP by the River. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited for this one. Please welcome Between Clean Sheets, a.k.a. Cheyenne. Cheyenne, what's going on?
It's me. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, we hear you perfectly fine. So excited to see you again. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Girl, you're living your life. Man, I see you out here.
I know I've been busy. Well, and for those who aren't familiar with my most recent travels, I went to Columbus for the opening of their brand new stadium.
Sick.
And missed the 7-1 victory in DC. So I had all these people text me like, "Oh my gosh, this is so awesome!" I'm like, "I'm not watching. Shut up.
Don't tell me.
Don't tell me." Yeah,
that is awesome.
I even told I am now. Oh, sorry. Go right ahead.
No. Go ahead. What was the story there?
Oh, I've become Instagram buddies with Kevin Paredes and told him I was so bummed I missed it, and he goes, "No, I thought you were there." And I said, "You'll have to score again. I'm sorry I missed your first. Well, you'll just have to keep scoring." So
that's very funny. I was going to ask you, how was Columbus's new stadium? What is the name of the new stadium?
It is lower.com field, and
okay.
I believe lower.com is the website for some sort of insurance company. I'm so tired, by the way, of the names of the stadiums being their sponsors, because I went to San Jose Stadium a couple years ago when it was Avaya, and I tweeted out that I was excited to return, and they're like, "It's PayPal Park now." I'm like, I don't care. It's the same stadium. It's the same stadium.
Well, listen, if you call Subaru Park PPL Park or Talent Energy, we won't get mad.
We don't care. It's
We
it's
don't
all the same thing.
I don't even know what it's called. I just say Chester.
That's perfect.
That works. That works.
We got a new sponsor. Now we're Subaru Park. It's fun because now we got a little nickname, the Sue. So we're running with that.
Okay.
It's very fun. So how have you been personally, man? Other than the travel, how you been with have you, I know between clean sheets has obviously you've been diversing yourself into all the MLS markets, but how's the DC United been treating you?
DC has been treating me really well, and I am not at all ashamed or embarrassed to say that we are very enjoyable to watch now. So I think my mood has improved when it comes to my personal fandom, and it makes it a lot easier to talk to people that I either bring to the game or talk to people about all the things that I'm doing surrounding the team. The content that I've put out so far has been pretty heavy on all the travels, and I've traveled once. I think I've traveled once so far for DC United this year. Went to San Jose and watched them lose, unfortunately. But I have a lot of upcoming travel planned for DC United, and I'm really, really excited to knock some of that out content-wise, which I'm sure you understand.
Oh yeah, except Philadelphia's not on your itinerary, which we're upset about.
I know. I'm sorry. I have a church activity on Saturday. I'm trying to be closer to Christ right now.
Listen. I hear you. We personal life definitely gets in the way of my union dumb is why I completely understand. Cheyenne, you kind of alluded to DC's play this year. What has been the difference? Obviously, like I don't know if I've talked to you about it, but I was really excited to see Hernan Losada and his tactics because Bielsa, a guy from the Bielsa's tree there. And I was just curious how he would be able to play around with some of these DC players because there's some nice players that are down there in DC. So how has Losada been different from Ben Olsen in your eyes?
Oh my gosh, it is night and day. I think that there's personal energy that radiates from him and the way that he interacts with players. He's younger. He's I would say cool. He's cool, so I think he gets along with the players really, really well. So off the field, yeah, the relationship there is so much better than I think it has been with a coach that was just, in my opinion, lingering for a really long time. And we have started playing similar to Philadelphia, similar to Dallas. We've started playing our kids, and the mentorship, I would say, the special attention that he pays to them, Moses Nyman, Kevin Paredes, Donovan Pines, who's a college graduate but still very young, Griffin Yao, is so crucial for them at this point in their career. And I was even saying this to a friend the other day. I actually cringe thinking about how their year would be going right now, how their season would be going right now if Ben Olsen was still around, because 3 of those guys got called up to train with the national team, and Donovan Pines is there right now, which is so huge. And you can see on the field, even though we're not winning as many games as I would like for us to be winning, you can still see that we're implementing a better, more aggressive strategy. So even if the result's not there, anyone who's watching from the national team or watching from these other teams looking for trades and transfers are seeing that they're playing decent soccer.
I absolutely noticed that as well. So is this kind of the direction DC is going to be going, building with from within, trusting these kids? No more Wayne Rooneys?
I hope so. And I think that based on some of the things that Hernan has said at the beginning of this year, there is a quote in the Washington Post, which is obviously a national outlet, but our local sports news, where he had mentioned just how out of shape our team was and how much work he had to put in at the beginning of the season just to get some guys ready. And you'll notice that some of the older guys on our team haven't been able to hack it as well. Frederick Briant, who has captained our team on several occasions and is our center defender, hasn't started in recent games. And not to say that tactically he's not there. He definitely is. It's just there's so much more that you can tell Losada wants to do that I think some of these older guys, and definitely Wayne Rooney, there's a lot to be said about who he is as a player. But every single highlight you've seen of him from the brief time that he was with DC, he's so gassed after whatever he does. And Hernan would have been like, "No, buddy, you got to keep running. Like you've got way more stuff to do on this field. Like, are you tired right now?"
Did you see that picture?
Yeah, I hope not. I hope
with
not.
with Wayne Rooney, and then another picture of Cristiano Ronaldo. Wayne is like 36 and Ronaldo is like 35, and just how much older Rooney looks.
He looks like he's in his like. I'm a Man U fan. It looks like he's in his straight up his 60s. But listen, I think Hernan just doesn't want Briant on the field because he like leads the team in own goals, or at least based on calculated own goals. I think. You're not.
Philly's scored some good own goals this year. So.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. That's weird. It's not very usual. Casper and Jakob had one, right? Oh man, that was absolutely terrible. What happened in that Toronto game? 7 goals.
Chris Armas.
Oh my gosh.
He got Chris out of here.
Yes. So
wait, didn't Chris Armas play for DC?
He might. Honestly, he might have. That's a good question. I could definitely Google very easily. However, I will say he was actually rumored to be interviewing for the job at DC. And when he was fired from the Red Bulls, it was shortly after we had beat them at home last fall. And that was one of our only triumphs of the end of the season, where we had scored a super, super late stoppage time goal. And that, I think, was the accumulation of a lot of things. But for this particular situation, Armas, I mean, MLS does give a lot of teams give their coaches a lot of liberties. So sometimes you can really foul up like that and still go on. Peter Vermees, for example, they were absolutely destroyed by LA a couple of years ago, and he's still around. But I don't think that they wanted to keep gambling on a coach as new as Armas in Toronto, and they have some problems right now that they need to sort out anyway. And he was just one that they could cut out. So we definitely made that very, very clear that Toronto needed to fix some things because we just absolutely dominated.
Bit of a difference with Vermees wins a lot of trophies, Armas rides on Jesse Marsh's coattails and then kind of gets fired. It doesn't even make it back to Canada. I figured he would get fired by the time they made it back to Canada, and I was right.
Man was even allowed in Canada. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, that to me, I watched the game after the fact, and knowing already what the score was and seeing kind of the timeline of goals, you could tell it went south because I watched Crew and New England. The Crew went down 2-0 pretty quickly and bounced back. But this game the goals were almost scored. Several of them were scored the same way. And you could see we had midfield. Our entire midfield was compact and traveled together. And there were like 5 dudes to their 3 back line every single time a goal was scored, save for Ola Kamara's where it was kind of run. But you could tell we had just traveled in our possession pack.
Right.
And there was absolutely no breaking it up. So as far as the game that we're expecting this Saturday is concerned, I think a lot of the action will be happening in the midfield, and it'll be a battle of possession. Because I think you guys, not to say you suffer from the same thing that we do, but we have had a difficult time finishing this year. And I would say Philadelphia could definitely improve on that.
You're
Shine,
not
you don't have to be
As
polite
well.
here. You can be
No,
honest.
she ain't wrong. She ain't wrong. Tell you that much.
So we
Yeah.
actually kind of talked about it before you came on. Right now there's like a lack of chemistry going on. We just signed our DP Daniel Gazdak. Taking a while for him to get acclimated to the MLS, get acclimated with the guys that are on this team right now. So that's kind of what the issues is with finishing, I would say, with this team. But I'm really intrigued of how this match is going to go, because the first time we guys met with you guys start off quick. You guys wanted to attack, and then eventually, you guys kind of fell into our trap. Do you think DC is going to play like that again, or are you guys going to, maybe take away what happened in that first match and try to do some adjustments in this match on Saturday?
I think we've changed a lot since May, I believe, was the last time we played you guys.
I think so.
We do not tire. Yeah, we do not tire out as quickly as it seemed like we did in that game. And the one thing I will say that will probably be an issue for us is our back line. Heinz Ike, who has been a starter for us, is injured. Steve Birnbaum is coming back, but he's still a little fresh. And Donovan Pines, I believe, is still with the national team. So between that and then Paul Ariola not being there, I still do feel like we possess so well now, so much better than we did in that game. And we'll also have Bill Hamid, who I don't believe was the goalie for that game. The last time that we played you guys. So, but the stats that have come out as of late for our team have been really, really great. MLS said that Russell Knaus has covered the most ground of anyone in MLS. Julian Gressel's in like the top 10 of key passes, as they say. And
as a winger? Is he playing winger?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yes, he's a little bit more central now. I think with Andy Nahar and then Kevin Paredes. But I will say that all of those things that aren't goals, aren't assists, and aren't final results, the numbers behind the scenes, I guess you could say, the things that nerds and people doing analysis get excited over are things that are really crushing it.
Hey-o. Right here, this guy.
Shy,
I was
let
going
me
to say,
ask you.
another bald man into soccer in this country. Tell Matt Doyle to watch out.
Matt Doyle stealing my spot.
Shy, let me ask you something, because Andy Nahar, right? So I remember growing up watching MLS, and Andy Nahar was just running up and down wide for DC. If I would have told you in that era that Andy would come back a decade later or so to play center back, like, what would have you said?
I think because of the high press and a super aggressive attacking system, and the fact that we crash the box a lot, it actually doesn't seem as crazy.
Okay.
But if you had told me in any other system or going into the season that that's what we were going to have at one point, I would have thought, who's injured? Like, or who are we missing? Like, did we run out of money? What's our problem here? I would just assume it was like a stopgap or like a plug to a sinking ship. Like, that's what I would have assumed. So
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, he's playing really well at that position. It's definitely cool to see. All right, let's get to it,
yeah,
Cheyenne.
I am enjoying the game. Yes.
Let's get to this match here. So, what do you see happening on Saturday between both these clubs?
I see us with the confidence of having just destroyed Toronto. I see us performing better, but I still feel it will be close. Now, someone looking at how things have gone for us and y'all this season, like a FanDuel BetMGM type analysis, would expect Philly to win. I don't think that either of these teams will walk away with 3 points. I think there will be a tie, and I think goals will be scored. I could see it being a 1-1 or a 2-2 game if I had to guess.
Okay. Very nice. Justin, so I want to ask you because we are in a little bit of car trouble here. No Matt Freeze is expected. No Jamiro Montero expected. We already talked about Fontana still being concussion protocol. I mean, I don't know when DeVries is ever going to come out of concussion protocol. We're a little bit tight there. What do you see the lineup? Because I'm really curious what you think the lineup will be for this match here, especially in the midfield and the up top.
I mean, yeah, I hate to say it. Joe Bendick's going to be in net. God,
Don't give us a Bendick face.
That sentence fills me with so much dread. Like, is Greg Ranjit Singh not available? Like, there's a reason we have a fourth goalie now for whatever. Joe Bendick doesn't really concern me as much. Your back four is staying the same. Let's be honest. I mean, your back four has not been a problem. In fact, you haven't given up many goals. So I'd say your back four is not really an issue. I mean, Kai and Bizo down the wings are still pretty good. And Jack and Jakob, for two tall guys, actually cover a decent amount of distance. And, Jack kind of being that Mark type of center back where he's doing a lot more of the sweeping up, where Jakob just can feel free to kind of have his passing range and kind of stand up and be a bit more of a physical presence and harass all the forwards, because I mean, who isn't intimidated by 6'5", 6'6" Norwegian center back? I mean, the man is physically imposing, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. Now for the midfield, listen, given the injuries, I mean, I was going to initially, we talked about it yesterday with John on the RFK Refugees podcast. I think given all the injuries, I think El Brujo is going to be your sixth. There's no question about that. Ali on the right, because if Ali's available, he's playing. Like, Ali literally, I think he must have something over Jim, because you can't take him off the field. And also, he's played well enough. You can't really argue against it. My personal, I think right now the signing of the offseason, Leon Flock is going to be on the left shoulder position, and he's excelled at that. He's excelled when he has to cover for the six. Honestly, for a 20-year-old, for a very minimal fee coming from St. Pauli, for a kid who has a lot of promise and is starting to show, like, maybe he just needed to actually see the field, and he was getting time for St. Pauli, but wasn't as much as he could have. Given all the injuries, I think Gazdag is up top of the 10. And then for your forwards, I mean, at this point, you're really only two healthy main forwards are going to be Casper and Sergio. And I think, given all of that, we talked about it with John yesterday. I had said a 2-1 Union victory, and he said a 1-1 draw. And I've been debating about that for the last day. I've been kind of tossing it back in my head, and I think I'm going to still stay with the same scoreline. It's a very tight. I could honestly say 1-1, and I could easily see that. But like it's one of those, like, I'm letting my slight bias show, but I just think that when the Union are at home, over the last few years, the Union have played better at home. And I think given everything that's happened, I'm not concerned about the defense. And as I said, I do think DC goes up early, but I think, the thing about the Union this season in the past few years is that they don't really give up. Come on, against the Red Bulls, they easily could have given up after being down a man in the rain, being down a goal, and they pull Sergio's goal, pulls out of nowhere. I mean, that legitimately came out of nowhere on a very quick throw-in and a nice cross, and Sergio, as we said, mossed the defender and got a perfect header. And I think I'm sticking to it. I think Gazdag gets a goal. And I think Casper, who people seem to keep forgetting, is still one of our most informed players and was one of the biggest reasons why we made it through in CCL. I think he gets another one. Like I said, I could be totally wrong. I was for the first question is, I was actually right the last score prediction, so God willing, I hope I'm right on this prediction because I'm never right on this stuff. But it's a Union DC game. Like,
Cheyenne just got called out, guys.
oh snap!
Jared too. That's serious business.
Oh, that's a capo calling out.
Jared,
That's one of our
I
Wait, was it
will-
Jared at
I
the
will
Columbus match too?
provide.
Yeah, Jared was there.
Hey, love Jared. Jared, we love you,
And he
buddy. We
didn't
love
say hey.
you. He said, "Real question."
Oh snap! But
First off,
I enjoy what you're talking about analysis wise, but I really only care about Cheyenne. Thank you. Thank you.
listen. Most of our fans, they've seen enough of this bald head. They don't need this. They're here for our guests.
I was in. Oh, yeah. See, Jared can't stay away from the supporter shield
Oh,
life. That's pretty
yeah.
dope, though. That is pretty
I
dope.
was also in the Nordeca. It was so loud. It was enjoyable, but it was
That's
just,
awesome.
man, I feel like, okay, this is, I think the one thing to piggyback off of what we're talking about for this game, but maybe to get a little bit more grand with it. Philly and DC are two teams who, and more so Philly right now and very recently, are teams that are beginning to deserve a much louder fandom than they currently have. And I feel the same way about DC. And when I go to stadiums like that, like this new Crew Stadium, or God forbid I say Atlanta or anywhere else really, like I've been to Minnesota.
Don't say the A word here.
Atlanta's burning down to the ground right now. They're busy freaking out over Heinz benching Martinez.
They're about to go back to Kennesaw.
Right. I'm okay with that. Or Georgia Tech, I feel like that would work.
Was it
too.
Robbie
There you go.
Dodd or something like that?
Yep.
Robbie Dodd. Oh, that's
Yeah,
that's
it
absolutely
was.
wild.
Yeah.
Before we move
I
on,
just want fandom for us. That's all I want.
yes, I
So,
agree. I agree.
you
We
go right
we had a. I have a question here. I think that's going to tie into that in 1 second here. But to Justin's point, Justin, the beautiful part about this upcoming Saturday is that we're gonna have 9 games since our last match, so that should give players enough time to rest where you could put out your strong starting 11, because obviously we're a little thin in this match. But don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, if somehow Jim does start one of the 3 homegrowns, and I mean Jack McGlynn, Quinn Sullivan, or dare I say, Baby Aronson. Dare I say, that's all our hope right now. But
We'll see.
don't be surprised. Cheyenne, what I want to ask you, you guys weren't always the big into the DPs, right? But obviously you guys were able to get the Wayne Rooney's, but obviously you guys are starting to catch on. We're seeing some of those kids play. But do you think that in this MLS today, there is still a place for those big DP names?
Yes, there is. But it needs to be done the right way. You can't Colorado Rapids it and pay for Tim Howard. That's stupid. You also can't go, like, pardon the expression, but balls to the wall with an attacker who isn't in a system where.
Was that what you
Hard
stopped
to-
yourself
yeah,
from
okay.
saying? Because I was
No,
here for
but-
that, but I love balls to the walls.
Balls to the wall. Well, I think so much money is spent on these guys who can finish, but they're not in a system that even gets them the ball to be able to score a goal with. So I feel like if it's done the right way, yes, absolutely. And it's so cringy to watch that, because I think these guys are, it's embarrassing when we're not spending that much money, because it's MLS. We're still working with a cap and with a smaller budget. But when teams do really put out a big sum of money for them, and they just come and kind of fizzle, it's just such a missed opportunity, because I think of these younger guys, and I think of some of these other Americans who have gone abroad and could come back, or even South Americans who could come in and may not be the big name, but would still be enjoyable to watch. I think there are so many other dudes out there that could be so much more enjoyable to watch. and we would learn their name eventually. What is also, remember that Mexican player who you guys signed a couple
Marco
years ago,
Fabian.
Fabian? Am
Yeah.
I looking that up?
Marco
Such
Fabian.
an interesting
Fabian.
legacy he left here.
It's listen,
What a
he's got a
waste.
mixed. Well, he's got
Not
a mixed
really, though.
legacy. I mean, he did score the goal that did get us our first playoff win. So
That's
like,
so weird.
it's one of those. It's a mixed bag, but I absolutely agree
Yeah.
with what you're saying. Like, first of all, we talk about Miami. You don't need rules when you're Miami. You're Beckham.
Right.
You can find 6 DPs. It don't matter. But no, I definitely agree on the American homegrowns that definitely are starting to show. You're starting to see. I mean, look at FC Dallas just sold Tanner Testament to a Serie A club for what could be up to like $4 million and with potential more incentives. And the kid played a season. Again, Brendan Aronson and Mark McKenzie. You have Gianluca Busio, who's starting for the national team tonight. There's another one. James Sands, another player.
Vines.
Sam Vines, Daryl DK. Like, you have all these players, and then you talk about the South American route. No one knew who Miguel Almiron was before he came up here. He played two good seasons in Atlanta, and he got sold for a boatload of money to Newcastle. Like, I think, and you're starting to see these young South American players that, you know what, I might not be the best player in my league, but I have a couple good seasons in this league. I could spin that to Europe, and the league isn't pretending to be anything that it's not.
Right.
And listen, if we can be a stepping stone for those players, you know what? I'm okay with that because it shows growth in the league. You tell me that the Eredivisie, you're telling me that Ajax doesn't mind being the champions and also, getting a boatload of cash for their players and then signing players, with the same money and then reinvesting that. And next thing you know, they have that run they did in 2018. Like, it's okay being a launching pad. It means that there's growth.
Right.
I love that part about it. Cheyenne, my last question here. So I'm not sure if you follow MLS Buzz. Obviously, a great follow if you're an MLS fan. They put out a good tweet yesterday regarding the World Cup in 2026 here. So as of right now, if it stays packed, there are 17 cities up for grabs for a World Cup host. 10 are supposed to be the final, right? So the way I look at it, it's going to be tough for both your market and our market to kind of make it. I don't see a way where DC does not become one of those teams that obviously will become one of the hosting cities of the World Cup, right? But I want to ask you,
what makes you say that?
Because the way FIFA looks at capitals, I think it's weird because, look, here in America, I feel like most people feel like if you're outside of the United States and you look at the United States, you think like New York or LA is the capital, but DC is actually our capital. But the way FIFA looks at capitals around the world, they think it's the biggest city. Unfortunately, here in America, it's not really that case. That's where I want to.
It never is.
I know.
Johnny, I don't know if you truly what FIFA's guidelines are for this, because I mean one of the biggest things they look at is logistics, and between the two cities, logistically, Philly but Philly has the transportation. They have it's right near the airport. You have a ton of hotels. You have plenty of access into that area. You have a stadium that is absolutely going to have capacity. I mean, there's a minimum capacity, and I just don't think I think when it comes to it, I think Philly also has way more history than and I understand capitals, but I think it varies depending on the on the thing. I mean, you tell me that that when they played the Europe final in Azerbaijan, that they're thinking of like it's one, it's about money, but two, I think it's just there's a lot of logistics that make.
Let's do it like this. I'll name the city. You tell me if they should be a host city or not. Boston.
No.
Boston, I say yes.
See, I say yes too.
Can I tell you why I say no?
Yes, please.
Actually, so think about this corridor from Boston to DC. It's actually, I think you guys are thinking of, well, they're so close. So, if you have to eliminate one of them, who would you eliminate? I think the fact that they are all in close proximity to each other makes it actually a very valuable
Okay.
cluster of
I'd agree-
cities
I'd
because
agree.
travel between them is easy for teams. And Amtrak is actually perfect for fans to
Yeah.
travel there as well. And arguably, literally, the only part of the country that I would travel on Amtrak in is that Northeast corridor. But
Okay.
if I had to eliminate one or the other, so Boston, you've got Boston, New York, Philly, DC. They're not going to pick all four.
Oh,
I
Baltimore and DC like combined. No,
and
it's not combined. I'm
Baltimore.
sorry.
I would take Baltimore
No,
out then.
not combined. No, take
Poor
Baltimore and Boston out. Yeah, the problem is, okay, so what the things that DC has going for it, my heart tells me DC should not be selected, but at the same time,
That's crazy.
logistically, I think that they will be. We have an more of an international city than
That's true.
Boston and Philadelphia combined. So you've got every embassy and consulate. We have a huge international airport where those countries are accustomed to flying in and out of. I think the one thing we don't really have going for us right now is FedEx Field.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
That is a dump. Okay. Place is a dump.
It's so gross. So
Yeah,
all the things, here's the thing though, all the things that Philly has going for it sports wise, like the capacity to host at the Eagles Stadium.
Like, yeah.
I think that, yes, Lincoln Field.
She's actually behind me now.
Is it? Oh, I was like, where are you, outside?
I'm outside the link, guys.
Hey, I've seen your content. You do hang out up like near there sometimes. No, I think that DC has enough going for it and is a good complement to Philly that I think that both will be selected. But they will definitely skip right over Baltimore. And I actually, interestingly enough, have some friends in the soccer industry who previously worked for Philly's Academy and have worked with Richie Graham from Philly a lot. Nice. And had been in the preliminary stage of helping them with their proposal for this particular thing, their host proposal. Because for those unfamiliar, I work and have worked on campaigns, and campaigns are a very, very comprehensive project to get one particular individual elected to office at any level. And this particular campaign is very similar. It's the comms, the data, the like voter outreach, so to speak, getting the community involved, et cetera. So I had actually been in some interesting conversations about what Philadelphia had to offer, and I saw what they were attempting and was more impressed with it than what DC had at that point, and I think has so far. But we do get the benefit, to your point, of being a capital city, but we also are just a hugely international city, and I see the benefit of both of them being involved, if that makes sense.
So I agree with what you're saying. So here are the 10 that I kind of see becoming the cities. So I believe New York, Philly, DC, Atlanta, as much as I don't want to say Atlanta, Miami, Dallas, KC, Denver, LA, Seattle. And it's tough because there's a good stadium out in San Francisco that I think can host a World Cup game. Actually hosted the Copa America, the bicentennial tournament when you had like the CONCACAF and the CONMEBOL games. I think Colombia played U.S. in that Levi Stadium, which it'd be tough to leave them out. But I think that those would be the 10 cities. Could be the 10 cities.
I feel like San Fran make it flip for Dallas. I just, if you're gonna pick a city in that area, if you're gonna do California, I think Los Angeles wins out. Like
Right.
I don't think you need San Fran and Los Angeles because you have
Okay.
Seattle. Like I feel like it's gonna be
You gotta
one
have
or the
Seattle.
other.
You
So
have
I just think I think you would skip over San Jose or San Francisco if you're between the two.
And then, of course, Cincinnati saying we should get a World Cup host city.
Yeah, I mean they have a better
I
stadium,
think
but
that Kansas City. I think Kansas City is out.
You think so?
That's
really,
actually the opinion that I have had for the longest time. I lived in Kansas City in 2017, 2018, and their airport, while it is being worked on, is so abysmal right now. And even with the changes that they're making to it, there is no public transportation there, and there is no connection. And there is just the infrastructure, the legitimate logistical infrastructure. I don't care how many photos they post of themselves at the freaking like Sports Live, whatever downtown thing that they have. I don't care how many people showed up to an outdoor watch party. I don't think that they have what it takes, and no one's gonna stop in the middle of the country to do that.
How did Chicago not make the list?
they backed out themselves.
They didn't bid. Yeah.
Well,
they chose not to
they
bid.
backed out because FIFA was because basically Chicago was going to have to take on most of the costs, and they said no, we're not doing that. So Chicago backed out. They didn't get cut, but it did help trim the list.
That is pretty crazy. So obviously we still got some time to think about that.
That's the thing you have to think about.
Yeah, 100% there.
Sorry,
Listen,
yes.
you're okay. You're okay. We are winding down here. Cheyenne, what I want though from you, please let people know where to find all your great content. I love your content.
So I live at, no, I'm just kidding. Come over to my house so I don't have to edit a video. Just watch me talk about it at my house. No, I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter and Instagram is at BTWN Clean Sheets. I also am trying so hard to emulate the great with some TikToks. I'm on TikTok as well.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm loving the TikToks.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to be dropping my vlog from my travels to Denver for the Nations League tournament, where I sat in a suite and watched all 4 games. That drops tomorrow, and then
I'm excited.
Yeah, and then my Columbus Crew video will probably drop mid next week.
They're so tough. So this Saturday I'll be vlogging at the Soup during the DC match, and it's tough because like I know you want to make it perfect, and you're just trying to add those little details, and they definitely get tough. So I really commend you for what you're doing. Those vlogs are absolutely spectacular. And what I love about you, Cheyenne, is that you're just yourself. Like you're not changing for anyone. You are yourself. You love soccer, and it's evident that you love soccer, and we appreciate what you do. We don't like your team, but we appreciate you.
I think I have to go now.
Well, on that note,
I think I have
ladies
to
and
get the heck out of here.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, that is
Oh,
going to be
geez.
another episode of DOOP by the River. Seriously, thank you so much again to Between Clean Sheets, aka Cheyenne. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to like the live and subscribe to El Parcero Phillies YouTube channel, as we put all of the live portions of DOOP by the River on there. And as well, don't miss DOOP by the River, wherever you stream podcasts. This will be up there from Apple, Google, Spotify, and of course it'll be on PSN Radio as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Between Clean Sheets, and that is Justin Philly's second most famous bald guy, Friedberg. I go by the name of Ed Parcero Philly. We're telling you guys to dupe on. We'll talk to you guys next week.